The day I turned 70, something changed. Not with my health or my mind, but with how the world saw me. Suddenly, it became invisible. The barista who once knew my name now looked through me. In meetings, my ideas were politely acknowledged, then ignored. Even at family gatherings, conversations flowed around me as if I were merely furniture. If you're over 70 or approaching it, you might already recognize this feeling. That creeping sense that society has decided your contributions, your opinions, and sometimes even your presence, no longer matter. Today, I'm breaking the silence on why society makes us feel invisible, and more importantly, sharing 5 powerful ways to reclaim your relevance and respect, no matter your age. This invisibility isn't just in your imagination. Research from the World Health Organization shows that ageism is one of the most socially accepted forms of discrimination, with adults over 70 experiencing it daily in ways both subtle and overt. From being talked over in conversations to having healthcare providers address your adult children instead of you, this invisibility has real consequences for our mental health, social connections, and even our longevity. A recent study found that people with negative perceptions of aging live an average of 7.5 years less than those with positive attitudes about growing older. Think about that. Our society's view of aging isn't just annoying or hurtful, it could actually be shortening our lives. But here's what most people don't understand. This invisibility isn't inevitable. It's the result of specific social patterns and assumptions that we can actively counter. The truth is, our generation has weathered societal transformations, technological revolutions, and personal challenges that have given us wisdom and resilience that the world desperately needs. We've lived through decades of change. We've seen trends come and go. We've built careers, raised families, and contributed to our communities. And yet somehow when we reach our 70s, society expects us to quietly step aside. Not anymore. The strategies I'm about to share aren't just about feeling better. They're about reclaiming your rightful place as a valued, respected, and visible member of society. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why society pushes us into the background, and you'll have 5 actionable strategies to reconnect with your power and purpose. I'll share real stories of people who have transformed their later years from a time of increasing invisibility to one of unprecedented impact and fulfillment. The final strategy I'll share completely transformed how I approach social interactions, and it's something you can start doing tomorrow. It's so simple yet so powerful that it changed how my own grandchildren see me. Whether you're feeling this invisibility already or want to prevent it, these insights could radically change your experience of aging. So stay with me until the end, because you deserve to be seen, heard, and valued for exactly who you are right now. Not who you were 20 years ago, and not as a stereotype of what a senior should be. The first reason many of us become invisible is digital disconnection. In a world where relevance is increasingly tied to online presence, many people over 70 find themselves on the wrong side of the digital divide. I remember visiting my son's house last Christmas, watching my teenage grandchildren huddled together, laughing over something on their phones. When I asked what was so funny, my grandson said, "Oh, it's just a TikTok thing, Grandpa, you wouldn't get it." That moment stung more than I expected. I was being dismissed, not because I couldn't understand, but because they assumed I couldn't. This digital disconnection doesn't just affect family relationships. It impacts how we access information, connect with communities, and participate in society. When we're not where the conversations are happening, on social media, in digital forums, through video platforms, we literally become invisible to large segments of society. But here's the solution: strategic digital presence. I'm not suggesting you need to master every new platform or technology. Instead, choose 1 or 2 digital spaces that align with your interests and focus there. For me, it was Facebook groups. I joined several groups focused on vintage car restoration, a hobby I've enjoyed for decades. Suddenly, I was connecting with people of all ages who valued my expertise. I wasn't the old guy. I was the guy who knows how to rebuild a 1957 Chevy carburetor. My age became irrelevant. My knowledge became invaluable. Sandra, a 78-year-old former English teacher I interviewed for this video, found her digital niche by starting a simple blog, reviewing books. Within a year, she had readers from 32 countries and was being quoted by professional reviewers. "I'm more visible now than I was in my 50s, she told me, and it all started with me deciding that my opinions on books still mattered. Ask yourself, what knowledge, experience, or perspective do you have that others might value? Where online might you find people who share your interests? Start there, with one platform, one group, or one type of content. Your visibility in the digital world will naturally extend to how people see you in the physical world. The second factor, making us invisible, is clinging to outdated identities. When we define ourselves solely by careers we've retired from or roles that have changed, we become stuck in the past, and that's exactly where society tends to place us. I experienced this firsthand after retiring as a high school principal. For 30 years, I had been Principal Rodriguez. My identity, my authority, and my place in the community were clear. Then suddenly, I was just Carlos. At community events where I used to be recognized and consulted, people were polite, but no longer sought my input. I had lost my visible role, and with it, my perceived value. This identity crisis affects many of us: the engineer who no longer engineers, the nurse who no longer nurses, the executive who no longer executes. Society struggles to see us clearly when our primary identifier is something we used to be. The solution is intentional reinvention. This doesn't mean abandoning your history. It means building on it to create a new, current identity that demands recognition. Take Margaret, an 81-year-old retired attorney I spoke with. Rather than holding onto her identity as a lawyer, Cher invented herself as a mediator for family disputes. "I'm using the same skills but in a new context," she explained. "And because I'm not trying to compete with younger attorneys, I've found a niche where my age and experience are actually selling points." For me, reinvention meant taking my educational background in a new direction. Instead of leading a school, I now mentor first-generation college students. This new identity gives me purpose and visibility in a context where my experience is valued, not dismissed. Reinvention doesn't require starting from scratch. It's about asking, what elements of my experience and skills are still relevant? How can I repackage them for today's world? What new aspects of myself am I ready to develop and share? When we create identities rooted in who we are now, not who we were, we give others a clear way to see and value us in the present. We step out of the shadows of our past roles and into the light of current contribution. Ask yourself, what new role or identity would energize me? What have I always wanted to explore? How can I reframe my experience for today's context? Your answer might be the key to renewed visibility. The third reason we become invisible is our shrinking social networks. As friends move away or pass on, as we retire from workplaces, as children and grandchildren get busy with their own lives, our circle of regular human contact often diminishes dramatically. I felt this acutely after my wife passed away. We had been a social couple, always hosting dinner parties and attending community events. When she died, not only did I lose her, but I also lost the energy and motivation to maintain those connections. Within a year, my phone rarely rang. My social visibility had plummeted. This isolation isn't just emotionally painful, it literally makes us less visible in our communities. With fewer people to acknowledge us, include us, and reflect back our value, we begin to disappear from the social landscape. The solution is proactive community building. This means deliberately constructing new social networks, often around shared interests rather than shared history. For me, the turning point came when I joined a community theatre group. At 73, I was far from the oldest member. The shared purpose of putting on a production created natural bonds across age groups. During rehearsals, no one cared about my age. They cared whether I knew my lines and hit my marks. I became visible, again through active participation. Howard, a 76-year-old widower I interviewed, found his community through volunteer work at a crisis text line. "Young people in crisis don't care how old I am," he told me. "They care that I listen without judgment. For 4 hours every week, I'm not an old man. I'm a lifeline." His volunteer coordinator later told me that Howard is one of their most requested counselors, specifically because of the perspective his life experience brings. Building new communities doesn't happen by accident. It requires putting yourself in new environments, being willing to be a beginner, and sometimes experiencing rejection. But the alternative, a continuously shrinking world, leads to inevitably increasing invisibility. Ask yourself, what activities would I enjoy doing alongside others? Where might my experience be valued in a volunteer capacity? What new skills would I like to learn in a group setting? Your next community is waiting to be found, and with it, a new dimension of visibility. The fourth reason is pervasive ageist stereotypes. Society expects seniors to be technologically incompetent, physically fragile, mentally declining, politically conservative, and culturally out of touch. These stereotypes create a filter through which others see us or fail to see us at all. I encountered this while taking a computer class at the local library. The young instructor spoke slowly and loudly to me, explaining concepts as if to a child. When I asked a technical question about cloud storage security, he seemed genuinely shocked. His stereotype of a 75-year-old man didn't include understanding technology. Despite my 20-year career in IT before retirement, these stereotypes don't just affect how others treat us, they can actually impact our performance. Research on stereotype. Threat shows that when we're aware of negative stereotypes about our group, we tend to perform worse in those stereotype domains. Simply put, society's limited view of us can actually limit what we do. The solution is deliberate stereotype breaking. This means intentionally challenging expectations about who we are and what we can do as older adults. For me, this meant registering for a half marathon at 72. The looks on people's faces when I mentioned my training schedule were priceless. By race day, I had younger neighbors asking to join my training runs. That simple decision to defy expectations about physical capacity changed how my entire neighborhood perceived me. Elena, an 80-year-old woman I interviewed, breaks stereotypes by taking stand-up comedy classes and performing at open mic nights. People expect grandmother jokes, she told me, but I talk about dating apps and politics. The surprise on audience faces when they realize I'm not going to be sweet and safe, that's when I know I've broken through their stereotypes. The key to stereotype breaking is identifying which assumptions limit you most and then finding visible ways to contradict them. Love technology. Wear your AirPods proudly and talk about the latest apps you're using. Physically active? Make sure you're visible in your community doing those activities. Politically engaged? Speak up at town halls and community meetings. When we break stereotypes, we don't just change how others see us, we expand the possibilities for how all older adults are seen. Ask yourself, what assumptions do people make about me based on my age? Which of these stereotypes do I most want to challenge? What unexpected choices or activities might help reshape others' perceptions? Your answer is the beginning of renewed visibility. The final and perhaps most powerful factor is how we've internalized society's views of aging. After years of subtle and not so subtle messages that we're less valuable, less capable, and less relevant, many of us begin to believe it. We silence ourselves. We step back. We accept invisibility as inevitable. I realized I had fallen into this trap during a family dinner when a discussion about climate change was underway. I had read several scientific papers on the topic and had an informed opinion, but I remained silent. When my son later asked why I hadn't joined the conversation, I heard myself say, "Oh, I didn't think anyone would be interested in what I had to say." The truth in that moment hit me hard. I had made myself invisible. This internalized ageism shows up in countless ways. Apologizing for taking too long at the checkout counter, downplaying our accomplishments as being from another time, or prefacing our opinions with diminishing phrases like, "at my age," or "I'm probably out of touch." But the solution is rebuilding confidence from the inside out. This means recognizing and challenging our own ageist assumptions and reclaiming our right to be seen and heard. For me, this started with a simple commitment. I would speak up at least once in every group conversation. No more silencing myself. No more assuming disinterest. This small change resulted in something remarkable. People started seeking my opinion, not because I was older, but because I was engaged. Judith, a 77-year-old former homemaker I spoke with, rebuilt her confidence by taking a public speaking course. "I spent decades believing my thoughts weren't important enough to share broadly," she said. "Now I give talks at our local library about personal history. The first time a young mother came up and thanked me for helping her understand her own grandmother better. That's when I knew my voice mattered." Rebuilding confidence isn't about denying aging or its challenges. It's about separating the physical realities of getting older from the social constructs that needlessly diminish us. It's about claiming your space unapologetically. Try this. For 1 week, eliminate self-deprecating age references from your vocabulary. Don't joke about senior moments or apologize for taking your time. Pay attention to how differently you feel and how others respond. Ask yourself, in what situations do I make myself smaller or less visible? What would it look like to fully occupy my space in the world? What strengths have I developed over my lifetime that I can confidently claim? Your answers reveal where rebuilding can begin. We've explored why people over 70 often feel invisible, from digital disconnection to internalized ageism, and discovered 5 powerful ways to reclaim our relevance. First, establishing a strategic, digital presence that leverages our knowledge and connects us to broader communities. Second, reinventing ourselves beyond past roles to create identities firmly rooted in the present. Third, proactively building new communities that value our participation and contributions. Fourth, breaking age stereotypes through unexpected actions and interests that challenge limited perceptions. And finally, rebuilding our confidence from the inside out by recognizing and rejecting internalized ageism. These strategies aren't just about feeling better, though they certainly help with that. They're about creating a more accurate reflection of who we really are, complex, evolving, valuable human beings with unique perspectives shaped by decades of experience. The truth is, invisibility isn't your natural state. It's a social construction that can be deconstructed and rebuilt. You have earned the right to be seen, not despite your age, but inclusive of it, with all the wisdom, perspective, and value you bring. Remember what Maya Angelou said, "Do not allow yourself to be made into a thing. You are a person. At 70, 80, 90, and beyond, you remain a full person worthy of recognition, respect, and relevance." The world needs your voice now more than ever. If you've experienced this invisibility or found ways to overcome it, please share your story in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear today. Has one of these strategies resonated with you particularly strongly? Let us know which one you plan to try first. Sometimes naming our intentions publicly helps us follow through. If this video has been valuable to you, please give it a thumbs up so more people in our community can find it, and consider sharing it with someone who might need this message, whether they're experiencing invisibility themselves or need to better understand someone who is. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on navigating life's later chapters with purpose and power. Thank you for your wisdom, your experience, and for refusing to be invisible. I'll see you in the next video.